My name is Christie Arkovich. We are Tampa attorneys here, focusing on student loans, foreclosure, debt relief, things like that. And I just watched the John Oliver last week's news a couple nights ago, and he had a story on student loans. And I was really impressed with the accuracy of how we got into this mess. There was a lot of detail about how the student loan program started, how they've constantly been enlarged, and then a lot of unfavorable information about servicers, which we tend to agree with in most cases. And so there was a really good summary on, again, it's John Oliver's last week's news, I think, on March 17th. It'll drop on YouTube probably around Thursday, I think. In the meantime, it's on HBO Max and things like that. But essentially, while it was really good describing how we got to this and why the problem exists and why it is that, hey, when you sign a contract, sometimes it's not possible to repay the debt the way the system is designed to work against you. I liked all of that. What I didn't like was there really wasn't any talk of solutions. There was a minute or two focused on borrowers are getting tons of relief. There's hundreds of thousands of borrowers that are getting full forgiveness and things like that. But there was never any discussion about how that was occurring. And I just want to make sure that folks out there that you get information that shows that this is not automatic. In fact, there is a deadline that's upcoming in a little over a month from now. It's April 30. It used to be December 31. And so they basically bumped the deadline for consolidations to direct loans to qualify for this IDR audit from December 31 to April 30. So what does that mean? That means that you have until April 30 to actually file a consolidation application. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, you might have an older FFEL loan, FFEL. It stands for Federal Family Education Loan. You might have a direct loan. You might even have a HEAL loan, those health and whatever services, whatever those loans were. That program's been discontinued for a number of years now, but the loans still exist, and they're known as HEAL loans, HEAL. Those loans, those Perkins loans and those HEAL loans are not automatically eligible for things, including FFEL loans. They're not automatically eligible for new things that come out under the direct program. What new things might you be talking about? Well, the SAVE program, for instance. You have to have a direct loan in order to get into SAVE. SAVE is basically the lowest possible payment that someone can normally probably make. It's income driven. Any new governmental relief is probably only going to apply with those that have direct loans. So it's very, very important to have a direct loan. There's hardly any reasons to remain a FFEL borrower at this point. Your loans were privately originated. They're privately held in many cases, most cases, and they're only backed by the government. In other words, if you default, the government would basically step in and make that servicer whole or whatever their contractual arrangement is. But the CARES Act, interest-free, that only applied to those with direct loans. Public service will again go back to those with only direct loans. So you have until April 30 to file a consolidation application to basically change the nature of your loan from the older type to the newer type. That's important because not only these new programs and so forth, but there's a very nice window of opportunity right now to take advantage of something called the IDR audit. Now, what that means is because there's been a lot of forbearance steering in the past, in other words, servicers have basically sent someone to a zero payment under forbearance as opposed to really doing the analysis to see what it would be under income driven, which ultimately would grant forgiveness. That forbearance steering is being kind of corrected now. And the Department of Ed is basically giving folks credit for time that they would not have otherwise gotten credit towards forgiveness. And we're talking years. I mean, I may see someone now with loans from the early 2000s, late 1990s, up to 2005 or so, getting full forgiveness because their loans are being redated for IDR purposes under this audit. Now, that's automatic, but you have to have a direct loan to be eligible, and you have to have them all put together in a consolidation if there was any gaps in education. Like, for instance, if you went to undergrad, worked for a while, then went to get a master's, or maybe you had different kids and their Parent Plus loans, different dates. You want to basically combine those loans to have the same IDR start date. And right now, what they're doing is under the IDR audit is they're going to take the earliest possible date for any of those loans in that package. That's wonderful because that means that any of your later dated loans will actually fall under the earliest date as if they've been in repayment all that time. That's going to go away. As of March or April 30, after that time, it's going to be a weighted average or, some kind of average, and it won't go back to the earliest one. So April 30 is a very important deadline. There are other deadlines I'd like to focus on, double consolidation and things. I'll do a separate video about that and update. But essentially, these things that will hopefully correct some of the problems that servicers have basically created or allowed to exist, they're not automatic. There's something that you need to do something to get into, to change your loan types, to make sure you're qualified. Don't let your servicer make that decision for you. So if you're applying for an IDR, an income-driven plan, you're filling out the application, the IDR application, don't select item 1, which says, the servicer will pick the best opportunity for you. Don't do that. You need to decide which plan do I want to be in, and here's why I need to be in this plan. Understand the differences with the plans. Understand some may be going away this summer, so it's important to get into the correct plan, whatever makes the best sense for you before the summer, because some of them are going to be closed, like pay, for instance. I understand it's closing for anyone new trying to get in on July 1. We don't use it a lot, but we do use it for certain circumstances, particularly those with grad loans. So getting a little too much in the weeds here, but the important point is some of these things are not automatic. You need to actually take steps to make sure that you qualify for the forgiveness, for the lower payment, for whatever it is. You have to actually do something, and you don't want to let your servicer decide for you. The servicer is nothing more than a debt collector. They represent the other side. They're not guaranteeing that they're coming up with the best result for you, and you have to come up with that on your own. So I hope these videos have been helpful for you. If you would like a consultation with us, we call them strategy sessions. We spend about an hour. We review exactly what you have, make recommendations of here's what we do, maybe walk you through what that process is. And you can contact us at info@ChristieArkovich.com, or our office number is 813-258-2808. And please, if you know anyone who has not done a consolidation, reach out to them. Let them know that there's this deadline of April 30 to have that done. And even if you've done a consolidation, but it's old, like let's say you did one before 2010, you might have what's called a FEL consolidation. You need to have a direct loan. If you do it again, it'll be a direct consolidation. So make sure you've got direct loans. Make sure your friends and colleagues and children and parents, make sure everybody has direct loans if you can, or understand exactly why it is that you want to remain whatever it is that you already have. So again, I hope this has been helpful. Have a great day.